All right, welcome Disability Law Show. John Scholes here, Sivan Tumarkin as well, reaching out during the half hour anytime. We'll throw it up on the screen all kinds, but I'll give it to you. 1-855-821-5900, help@disabilityrights.ca. Shorten that down to disabilityrights.ca, the website. From there, you can catch past TV shows and links to our long-running radio show as well. We love it. You can join us for that as well. And we'll get to a bunch of emails today and other questions as well, including the 3 common mistakes individuals make when dealing with LTD insurers. That'll be buckets of fun. But first, Sivan, what's going on in your world, pal?
John, again, it's been a very, very busy week. And you know, we're fielding questions from literally every corner of the country about long-term disability claims, insurance claims, employment matters. And, you know, I want to focus again on the context of COVID here because we are still dealing with it, obviously, across the country. Increased numbers in various locations, kids back to school. You know, people are under tremendous amount of stress. And we read about this. You know, the suicide hotlines are you know, ringing nonstop. You know, people are having breakdowns, and it's understandable given everything that is going on. And, you know, many people don't know or are not aware that they have group policies through work that entitle them to go on short-term and on long-term disability if they are disabled from working. Now, many people, because of the psychological impact of COVID, have in fact tried to go on long-term disability. They've gone to psychotherapists, family doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists. And I have seen letters from these doctors who say that, you know, my patient is unable to work, they're depressed, you know, they have whole sorts of phobias or PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder because of what's going on. And yet despite that medical support, insurance companies are rejecting these claims and telling people, go on CERB. You're not going to qualify for LTD. That is nonsense. To be on LTD, to get LTD, you simply have to comply with the terms of the policy. And one of the terms are that you must be totally disabled from working because of an illness or an injury. What does totally disabled mean? It doesn't mean what you think it means. It doesn't mean totally as in 100%, being catatonic, being brain dead. It doesn't mean that. It simply means that you cannot function at your own occupation. You cannot perform the essential tasks of your own occupation for the first 2 years. That's for most policies. And beyond the 2-year mark of being on LTD, the test becomes that, you know, you cannot perform the essential tasks of any occupation for which you're suited for by training, education, or experience. Now, John, let's take, for example, a lady that had contacted me earlier this week. She's 42 years old. She's got 3 kids under the age of 10. She works in an office. She's in BC. I'm not going to say where, but she's in BC. And, you know, she's a germaphobe, self-admitted, and COVID hit her pretty badly. And it didn't help that her father caught COVID and almost died. And so, you know, she went on LTD, or she tried to apply for LTD. She was on short-term disability through her employer, through work. And then she applied for LTD with one of the major insurers that she has LTD coverage with through work. And they denied her claim, saying that you are not totally disabled, you should be able to work, and they were rejecting your claim. And she was distraught by that. And it wasn't, she contacted me, but it was at the behest of her husband who watches the show. And he told her, you know, contact us and contact Sivan. And so I've been exchanging a few emails with her. And I've told her, you have rights. You have legal rights. The insurance company can't simply, flick off your claim. They can't simply reject you without consequences unless you let them. So if you're in that situation, or if you know someone who is legitimately unable to work as a result of COVID or any other reason, and they have medical support, they have doctors saying they cannot work, and despite that, their insurance company rejects their long-term disability claim, or if the insurance company has paid them something but then cut them off, tell them to contact me. It's really important. It doesn't cost anything to get this information. I will speak with them for free. I will correspond with you for free. The rest of my team will do the same thing. It's really, really key, John. We are here to empower people. We have to correct this power imbalance between the public and insurance companies.
Well, I mean, that term totally disabled, which, by the way, is one brought up by the insurance company. Whoever did it should be retiring on what it's worth, because it's absolutely brilliant, because just that phrase will stop most people in their tracks even before they try. I'm not totally disabled. I'm not, laid out in bed or life support or quadriplegic. Of course, I just can't use my hands, even though I'm a surgeon and I can't earn a living, but that would be totally disabled under the definition, but they won't even try because it sounds so devastating, right?
You're 100% correct, John. They won't even try. Many people, I've even had people contact me saying, should I even bother applying for long-term disability? I'm disabled. Or they've contacted me for other individuals, family members and friends, and they're telling me that these people who are disabled, clearly disabled, okay, we're not talking about people who are trying to, squeeze something from the system that they're not entitled to. No, they are clearly disabled, and they don't even want to deal with their disability insurer because they're afraid they're going to get rejected. You have to stand up for your rights. I can't do it for you. I can't. I tell people that I can fight the insurance company. I can force them to pay you what you're owed, but you got to take the first step. You got to apply. And if you apply and you get denied, you contact me immediately. And moreover, John, I'll say this. Insurance companies are very much aware of this. They know this. I can tell you that when I started my career in the legal field years and years and years ago, I used to work for insurance companies. Yep. So I was on the other side. I was reporting to adjusters. I understand the way they approach things. I have many friends who are still on the insurance side. So it's designed this way so that they can make money on people's backs. It's just that simple. I have no problem with the insurance companies making money. I just have a problem when they do it in a way that's not legitimate, that's not ethical, that's immoral, and it's illegal.
Let's get to our first email for today's show, Sivan. Again, that is help@disabilityrights.ca. This one first. Darren says, my wife works at a design agency under a new abusive manager. She also suffers from postpartum depression, for which she is seeing a therapist, and has been prescribed medication by a psychiatrist. She was on short-term disability for a few months, but when she applied for LTD, she was told that she wasn't totally disabled. Her doctors say she can't work. Can we challenge that denial?
Absolutely, Darren, absolutely. John, we just talked about this. This is something we see all the time. And again, great for Darren to have contacted us, because what some people would do, unfortunately, is either back off, not deal with this, or they potentially would appeal those denials. And we all know what happens with these appeals. They typically fail because you're appealing to the exact same people or group of people or company, frankly, that denied you in the first place. You're not appealing to a third party. There's no judge. There's no one else. When you appeal one of these denials from long-term disability insurance companies, you're appealing to the exact same people who denied you in the first instance. And so what I will tell you, Darren, is that your wife obviously is going through a lot of hardship, and if her doctors support her being off work for her disability, she has an entitlement to this benefit. It's just that simple. It's black and white for me. As soon as I see, this enrages me, John. It enrages me because you have people who are already in a vulnerable state. They're already trying to figure out how to, survive. Many of them have suicidal thoughts. I've seen that. I've played the role of a psychologist. I mean, not for real, but listening to people cry on the phone, cry in person. They don't know what to do. So I am telling you, you have options, but you have to make that decision. You have to step forward. You have to want to not be taken advantage of by the insurance company. And I'll tell you this also. When I tell you you have a case, or any one of my team members tells you you have a case, and you let us work for you, and you let us represent you and attack the insurance company and force them to pay you, it's amazing to me how fast they fold like a house of cards. How many times, John, have I told you, off the air, I've told you about stories, without mentioning names, I've told you about situations where people have been denied over and over. They've appealed once, twice, 3 times, they've been denied. And then finally they come to us. And we write a letter to the insurance company simply requesting the file, the insurance adjuster's file. And in response to that request, we haven't even threatened anything. The insurance company suddenly says, oops, we made a mistake. We want to reinstate your client and pay your client benefits. To me, that is just the epitome of bad faith. Why did you do this to this person? Why did that person have to suffer and have no money coming in for a year, for 2 years? Why did that person have to come to me? Only for me to write a letter to you and then for you to retract so quickly, to fold? You know, I'm happy that we were able to resolve these claims for these individuals, but this just makes my point that these insurance companies are playing the odds. That when they deny your claim and it's a legitimate claim, they are playing the odds that you will walk away. And John, if out of 100 people, 1% stands up for their rights, but the rest don't, how much money is the insurance company making? Crazy.
Let's take a short break, pal. When we come back, we'll get to 3 mistakes that individuals make when dealing with that LTD insurer. That is on the way as we go to break. The phone number, 1-855-821-5900. help@disabilityrights.ca is the email address as well. Stick around. We're coming right back.
You lost your job. They only gave you 2 weeks of severance per year worked. But where can you find out what you're really owed?
I'm going to severancepaycalculator.com.
Find out how much you're owed right now. severancepaycalculator.com.
You've been denied long-term disability. You think you're powerless, but you have a lot more power than you think. I'll tell you a secret. It's a numbers game for the insurance company. They're betting on you walking away from money that they owe you. Don't make that mistake. We resolve disability claims all the time. We force insurers to pay what they owe. We're in your corner.
Call Sivan and his team, 1-855-821-5900, or go to disabilityrights.ca. You lost your job. They said they had a good reason, but you think you've been wrongfully dismissed. Now what are you going to do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca.
And welcome back, Disability Law Show. Again, John Scholes, Sivan Tumarkin, 1-855-821-5900, anytime to reach out. Sivan, we're going to get into this right away. 3 common mistakes individuals make when dealing with LTD insurers. Number 1 is this, assuming that an adjuster's first priority is you.
This is quite common, John. When I speak with individuals who are having difficulties with their long-term disability claim, they tell you, but my adjuster is nice. My adjuster calls me occasionally and asks how I'm doing. And you know, listen, it may very well be that your adjuster is a nice person. I mean, I have friends who are adjusters. Remember, I used to work for insurance companies, so I know that many of them are nice people. And many of them are smart people and good people. But they have a master that calls them, and that master is the insurance company and all the higher-ups in that insurance company. You know, and to think that your adjuster has your best interest at heart, you know, the best example, the best analogy I can give you is to think that our political leaders, you know, the Prime Minister, that his first priority is you and me. I'm sorry, but it's not. His first priority, as far as I'm concerned, is to be elected, is to be Prime Minister, right? I mean, he has a certain allegiance to that idea, to the concept. No different than when an adjuster deals with your claim. They have to answer to a manager or a supervisor. They have to, you know, show them the work product. They have their statistics probably about how many people are denied each and every day and week and month and year, how many people are cut off long-term disability, etc. So you have to be on your guard. And I can tell you, John, so many times when people have been cut off long-term disability, and then I get the insurance adjuster's file, because once we start a legal claim, they got to give it to us. We see the notes from the adjuster, and I can see how conversations that were had between the adjusters and these individuals, conversations that these individuals thought were just nonchalant, right? Just, how are you doing today? And somebody says, oh, I'm doing fine today. And the adjuster cherry picks that and you know, in their notes puts in, this person says that he is feeling fine today. Yeah. And subsequently, with enough of those comments, enough of those quotes, they then conclude that the person is now better and should be able to go back to work, when in fact that's not the case. It's just normal for you to say, I'm doing fine today. So, you know, you have to be on guard. You have to be careful. You should confirm everything that is said between you and your adjuster in writing. That's my recommendation, via email. Just confirm to your adjuster, this is what we were discussing the other day. This is what I said. You know, the adjuster may not like that. I don't even care if they respond to you, as long as you put that contemporaneously after your conversation in writing. Because you need to be careful. These adjusters are there to adjudicate your claim. Yes, they have an obligation to be fair to you and to comply with the terms of the policy, but they have a competing obligation to their jobs and to their masters. And their masters, the insurance companies, they don't want you on claim. It's that simple. As long as you're on claim, they have to pay you, and they don't want to have to pay you. So just be careful with a nice adjuster.
Second common mistake people make when dealing with their LTD insurer is this: you just assume that the insurer will take at face value whatever your doctor sends them and reports, right?
And they won't. And they won't. I mean, sometimes insurance companies will read the report and they'll say, well, your doctor said that you're not that disabled. And when you look at the actual report from the doctor, it doesn't say that. They have cherry-picked information. Sometimes they've ignored information altogether. Telling individuals that we just don't believe what your doctor's saying, or we need clarification, and unless we get that from your doctor, we're not going to approve you. Insurance companies, again, are in the business of denying claims. They're not in the business of being your friend, no matter what those ads on radio and TV show. Okay, and I just, before, the show this morning, John, I can tell you I saw a couple of commercials on TV from two of the major insurance companies saying exactly that. We'll be there when it rains. We'll be there when, you need us. We'll be there during hard times. And each and every day and every week, month and year, I get bombarded by people who are coming to me pleading for help because these insurance companies are not doing that. And one of the things they don't do is they don't properly read what doctors are saying when doctors write on behalf of these individuals and say that they're disabled. These insurance companies oftentimes ignore what these doctors who know these individuals, who have been treating them, are saying, and that's not right. And we can correct that if the insurance company denies your claim or cuts you off, and your doctors have said that you're disabled. We can correct that error. We can go after the insurance company. We can force them to listen to your doctors and pay you what you're owed.
Third mistake is this: that once you are eventually approved for LTD and you're on LTD, that's all you got to do. It's smooth sailing from here on in. Nothing else to be worried about.
Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, if that happened. I mean, if that happened, the reality is, I'll be honest with you, I would not have half the claims that I'm dealing with. Right. I would not have half the team that I have across all our offices in Ontario and BC. But we have all those lawyers, we have the team that we have, because the reality is that a huge amount of claims of people who are on LTD get cut off LTD at some point during that claims process, and when they should not be. When insurance companies say you've reached that 2-year mark, we think you can do some other occupation, and the reality is not, does not reflect that. Or when insurance companies say we want you to be seen by one of our doctors, and then you go see one of their doctors for an assessment, and that doctor, who's never seen you before in their life, cranks out a report that is favorable to the insurance company saying you're not that disabled, you can go back to work. And on the basis of that, the insurance company cuts you off. I have seen literally everything from these insurance companies, John. So the reality is that when you get approved for LTD, keep your guard up. You have to be careful. You have to continue providing continuous medical documentation to the insurance company to confirm that you remain disabled. Every case is different in terms of how frequently you do that, but have your guard up, and certainly in and around that 2-year mark when the policy, the definition for disability changes from your occupation to any occupation, that's typically when I see people getting cut off. But even after, you got to be careful. So just make sure that you don't put your guard down. You have to be vigilant.
All right, pal, we'll take a short break. And occupation, that's the key word, because coming back, we're going to deal with this. My insurance adjuster insists I can do another job despite my limitations physically, my disability, and my lack of education. How do you navigate that? We'll do that when we come back. 1-855-821-5900 and disabilityrights.ca.
You were being harassed, and when you said something about it, you're the one who lost your job. Now what are you going to do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca.
Insurance companies deny long-term disability claims all the time. They give lots of excuses. Don't give up. I've seen it all. They've ignored your doctors, they've ignored you. You're angry and you're frustrated. But there's hope. We resolve disability claims all the time. We force insurers to pay what they owe. We're in your corner.
Call Sivan and his team, 1-855-821-5900, or go to disabilityrights.ca. You thought you had a secure job. You didn't see it coming. Now what do you do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca.
All right, welcome back, Disability Law Show. Let's keep it rolling. We'll get to another email, Sivan. help@disabilityrights.ca is the way you send one through. We can read it here. Sometimes we'll get them on the radio show as well. If you just go to disabilityrights.ca, the website, you will catch links to our radio show. Let me get to it. This one, Sivan, comes from Shane. He says, my friend sustained a concussion and his right arm was almost severed due to a mountain climbing accident. His doctors say he's still unable to work or at least return to his factory job, but the insurance company just cut off his LTD payments because they believe he can do other jobs. He's 47, comes from a small town. He never really finished high school. How can I help him?
Well, I can tell you, Shane, you've already helped your friend by asking this question. I'm going to give you the information your friend needs. We can start a legal claim, and we should start a legal claim immediately against his insurance company. I mean, this is simply unbelievable to me. I mean, I say unbelievable, but the reality is I see these cases all the time where insurance companies say that you can do some other occupation, some other job, when in fact the opposite is true. And here you're dealing with an individual who hasn't finished high school, who has a factory job. It's usually a difficult physical job. And he has a physical issue here. I mean, his arm almost being severed. I don't know what his prognosis is, but given his age, given his education level, he's from a small town. I don't know that he has many options, if at all. And again, insurance companies often ignore these realities. They try to do they try to apply a formula of one size fits all. And John, I often see insurance companies sending individuals to various assessments, vocational assessments, transferable skills assessment, and then they come back with 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 different occupations that they say the individual can do. And when you look at those occupations and what the person is actually qualified for, has experience or education in, they don't match. Yep. They don't match, but people are confronted with this and they think that, game's over, they can't do anything. So, Shane, I can help your friend. I'd like to speak with him after this show. I can tell you right now, this is ludicrous. We can force the insurance company to pay him. They cannot do this. And if you, not you, just you, Shane, but anybody, our viewers, are in this position, or if you know someone in this position who is going to be cut off, this is important, not only that has been cut off, but if the insurance company tells you you will be cut off at some point in the future, you may have a claim now, before even the benefits end, I've had a case once where the insurance company, this happened with a client out of Ottawa, where an insurance company took the position that 12 months out, a year out, they believe that the person I was representing ultimately would be able to do another occupation. And I wrote back to them saying, what are you talking about? That's a year away. His doctors don't even know that. How do you know that? The fact that you've said that you're going to cut him off in a year because you think he can do some other occupation, that in itself is ground for a legal claim. And so we ended up starting the legal claim because my client was very concerned, and we resolved that claim before that cutoff point. So my client was never without money. And this is crucial, John. This is very important. We want to make sure that we minimize the amount of time that people are without any funds, any money, because it's tough. You got to pay your mortgage or your rent. You got to pay, I don't know, to eat. You got to pay for the kids and all that kind of stuff. So we understand that it's urgent. Do not take at face value. If the insurance company here says, we think you can do another occupation, and you don't think that's the case, and your doctors don't think that's the case, challenge the insurance company. Come to us. We'll tell you what your options are.
I want to get to Lee's email. We still have some time. Sivan, Lee writes in, says, I've had fibromyalgia and depression for years. Recently, my condition deteriorated and my doctor recommended that I go on disability. I was approved for short-term disability but was denied long-term in April. I haven't had the strength to appeal. Am I out of time to ask my insurance company to reconsider my case? I have a 10-year-old girl and I live with my elderly mother because I can't afford a place of my own. Wow.
How can that not break your heart when you hear that, John? It breaks my heart. I mean, fibromyalgia is very serious. Contrary to what insurance companies believe, and many doctors, frankly, fibromyalgia is real. There is, and not to mention depression and everything else that comes with that. I'm sure that Lee has difficulty sleeping, is lethargic. how can you work with those kinds of conditions, especially when you don't have any financial support, which is the whole point of long-term disability? And obviously he was on short-term disability. I'm not sure why he was denied long-term disability, but I can only conclude or surmise that it's for the same reason that many people are denied, which is, insurance companies will say there's insufficient medical proof or documentation proving your disability, or we just don't think you're disabled enough, or you're not totally disabled. Nonsense like that. I call those excuses, especially when doctors provide letters and reports that explain from their vantage point why their patients are disabled and need this financial help. So, Lee, we can help you. You do not appeal. I know you don't have the strength. Many of my clients do not have the strength. That's the whole point of why we're here. We take this off your shoulders. But what we do need you is to agree to have us take this off your shoulders. Because you remember something, John, you and I talked about this a lot. As soon as we get in the picture, this is something people may not know. As soon as our lawyers get in the picture, get between you and the insurance company, we are the only ones communicating with your insurer. The phone call stopped, the letter stopped, the email stopped from the insurance company. Your adjuster is not allowed to communicate with you once you have legal representation. That's just the way the system is. And I think that alone is gold for individuals reaching out to me. Oftentimes I tell them, here's what you can get from a monetary standpoint, here's what you're owed, and they don't even hear that. All they hear is, you're going to talk to the insurance the adjuster? I don't have to pick up the phone? And they tell me that every time the phone rings and they see the call display, they see it's the insurance company, their heart starts racing and they get depressed and oh my God, you don't have to deal with it. This is why we're here, to support you, to give you, that backup. And frankly, not to simply defend you against the insurance company, it's to go after the insurance company. It's not to play defense, it's to play offense. And we're good at that. We know what we're doing. Many of our lawyers worked for insurance companies in the past, including myself. So you got to trust us with this. At the very least, give us a call so we can actually talk about your case. It won't cost you a dime, a nickel, a penny to speak with us. Get the information you need, and let's just make sure that you're empowered. And at that point, you can decide how you want to proceed.
I think one of the best things as well is once you tell them to skip that whole appeal process and they go right for a legal claim, is now you're dealing with the insurance company's legal team who understand the game, so there's less time wasted. It's actually better to deal with lawyers than it would be with an adjuster because it expedites the claim, right?
Yeah, again, just to go back to other segments we've done on this point, John, how many times when we've gotten involved and represent our clients, and then the insurance company, as opposed to the adjuster, we had a lawyer on the other side who knows long-term disability law, who understands how things are going to shake down if we are unable to agree to a resolution, to a negotiated settlement. They understand what's going to happen in front of a judge. They don't want that. Their clients don't want that. Insurance companies are not in the business of going to court. They're just not. They know that they're going to get hammered in many, many situations, but they're playing the odds that you're going to walk away, that you're not going to do it. So oftentimes when we get involved and we start the legal claim, and then we get that phone call or email or letter from the opposing lawyer, the defense lawyer, the conversation turns to, how can we resolve this? Not from us, from the insurance lawyers. They're the ones saying, how can we resolve this? You understand? This is not, any lawyer that does this kind of work will be nodding right now as they're watching us, John, because that's the reality. Now, it's not in every case, but it's in many, many cases. In personal injury matters, in employment law matters, in many matters where we have this fight going on with these entities, specifically insurance companies, they don't want to fight. They are simply banking on not having to fight. Right. And all I'm saying to people right now, and on every one of these shows, is if you've been wronged, if the insurance company is keeping money that is owed to you, you have to take a step forward and say, I will not let them do this. You have to get in touch with us so we can give you the information you need. And sometimes, John, I will tell people that they have no case, that the insurance company is actually correct. Sure. It's not in every case that you have a case. So we pride ourselves on being absolutely honest, brutally honest with you. But if we tell you you have a case, or we think you have a case, it's because we think you have a case. It's not because we're trying to, do something that is unethical or immoral or illegal here. It's because we're telling you that under the law, you're entitled to compensation. As to whether or not you want to get that compensation, that's up to you. It's your money at the end of the day. It's your rights that are being trampled on. But Our obligation is to tell you what your rights are. And if at that point you decide that you want to take action, we are here, we will represent you, and we will go all the way, and we'll use all of our resources, which are vast, to go after the insurance company for what you're owed.
Well, like I said, it's at least worth a phone call. That'll cost you nothing, won't take much time. You'll want to reach out now that we are done for another show. Please do. Don't hesitate. 1-855-821-5900, the phone number. Email address, which we use on the show and our radio show as well, help@disabilityrights.ca, or just go to disabilityrights.ca for more information. Thank you so much for joining us again, and we'll catch you next time on the Disability Law Show.